Hey, church family, thanks for joining us for this stage one reopening plan discussion. We're hoping that this is going to take maybe somewhere around 45 minutes or so. You're going to have an option, our opportunity here in just a few minutes to ask some questions. So if you have joined us via Facebook Live or on YouTube or at nrbc.online.church to ask a question at any point during tonight's discussion, would you just type that question in the comment field there? We've got guys in the back that are going to be monitoring those and sending them to us up here on the platform. And so ask your questions there. If you're watching us on our website at nansemondriver.com, we're going to ask you to email your questions because there's nowhere to comment there on the website. You can email Pastor Brian, who's sitting at the back right now, at blee@nansemondriver.com, or you could go on over to Facebook, YouTube, or our streaming platform and ask your question there. You don't have to ask a question because you joined us, but we do want to give you the opportunity to do so. Now, I feel like this is going to work best as kind of a discussion format. So I've asked Chris O'Neill, who serves as our deacon for Connect Ministry, to join me on the platform for tonight's discussion, because for many of you, if you've come into the life of our church over the last few years, Chris or somebody from his team is one of the first people that you have encountered, and you've probably asked them a lot of questions. That really is his role as deacon for Connect Ministry here, is to ask questions and answer questions, manning our Connect desk. And so since that's kind of his job here, I've asked him to come and be the one to represent you asking questions tonight. So as you send in questions, they're going to get sent up here to Chris. And we've got some questions kind of already seated that he's going to ask. So Chris, why don't you take it away for us?
Sure. Thanks, Pastor Ryan. It's great to see you in person.
Glad you're here. I got a haircut.
So I could see that.
I'm so excited.
So why do the elders believe that now is the right time to reopen?
Yeah, so this really was a question that we have struggled with for quite some time. When we shut down in March, we knew that we were going to eventually have to make an equally difficult decision, because that was a difficult decision. And this one was going to be equally difficult. Not that we would eventually reopen, but when we would. Because we knew that some people were going to think we waited too long, and some people were going to think we were opening too soon, and we were going to have a lot of precautions and policies and procedures in place when we opened. And so we began to plan this weeks and weeks ago, not knowing what day we would open, but just that we would have a plan in place. Now, you probably heard from other churches in the state of Virginia that last week they opened, and some in our area did. And we're glad that they were able to do that. Some you're going to hear have not opened yet and may not for a couple of weeks or even some months ahead. But each individual church has to make this decision on their own based on the size of their church, the demographics of their church, the number of people that attend, their building, how it's all laid out, and really what they're seeking to accomplish. So we felt like giving one additional week of planning after churches in Virginia were allowed to reopen based off of the size of our church and the policies that we could put in place, that this Sunday was going to be our best option, and that we would be able to safely offer a corporate gathering for the majority of the people in our congregation. This doesn't mean that we think everybody's going to show up, but we do believe that the majority of people could come based off of what we've put in place starting this Sunday.
So I think we've seen a lot of different health procedures and policies, whether you're in stores or you're in a different public place. So what health policies will be in place during stage one here at Nansemond River?
Yeah, so for our church members and small group members, those that have signed up to get emails from us, hopefully you've already seen some of these. You should have received this in an email right around lunchtime today. If you've not gotten that yet, if you go to nansemondriver.com/COVID-19, which is our page that we've kept updating, you'll find a link there that has a PDF of what we sent out that is our stage one reopening plan today. And the first thing that you see on that reopening plan is our stage one health policies. Now, this is a multi-stage plan that we're going to stay in for at least 4 weeks. Now, that's not to say that we're going to move to stage 2 in 4 weeks, but we will not move to stage 2 earlier than 4 weeks. So this is going to be in place for at least 4 weeks. So all of this matters at least for the next month, maybe longer. And here are the health policies that we're going to have in place. First off, families that have any of these true about anyone in their household do not need to attend service that week. First, if anybody in your household has been sick in the last 24 hours, particularly if you've had a fever, anyone in the household has had a fever over 100.4, we're going to ask you to stay home. If you have any of the symptoms that have been identified with the CDC of being of COVID-19, we're going to ask you and your whole family to stay home just out of precaution. If anyone in your household has been diagnosed with COVID-19 in the last 14 days, you need to do what your doctor is telling you to do. The best thing you can do is listen to your doctor, and your doctor is going to tell you don't go anywhere for at least 14 days, and that's everyone in the household. And then anyone in your household who has knowingly been in direct contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 14 days. Now, this doesn't mean that you read on Facebook that somebody went to Walmart yesterday who tested positive and you happened to go to Walmart 2 days ago and now maybe you've been exposed. This means that you sit by a guy at work, or you've interacted with someone. Like I'm sitting here with Chris, and Chris and I have interacted tonight, and I find out tomorrow that he has been diagnosed with COVID-19. I'm going to stay home for 14 days. We're applying this to our staff. We're going to ask everybody in the church to follow these guidelines, because these are the guidelines that we're getting from the government and from health organizations. So those are the people that need to stay home. Then there are some people that we're going to say this, just pastorally, maybe you ought to think twice. Maybe you don't need to come the first week. Maybe you need to see how this unfolds a little bit further. We're not going to make the decision for you, but we are going to say that some should consider staying at home. These are the people who are considered to be at higher risk of infection or complications by the CDC. You say, well, is that me? You already know if it's you, because they've been putting out commercials and advertisements on the internet and everywhere else saying people, that are of a certain age, people that are battling cancer or going through cancer treatments, people that have diabetes, these people may need to consider limiting their exposure. And so we would ask that you at least consider staying at home. We're not telling you have to, but you could. If you live with one of these people, maybe you need to take that in consideration. Or if you regularly come in contact with one of those, we have some doctors in our church that may not be able to come for some time because of their exposure to people who may be diagnosed with this, and also because they don't want to expose themselves unnecessarily and bring it to someone who they may then infect. And this is important, I'm going to repeat this more than one time tonight. If you just don't feel comfortable yet coming, stay home. I'm going to borrow a phrase from my wife. She says this in our house all the time. This is a judgment-free zone as it relates to who shows up and who doesn't. And so we're not going to be looking at you when you come here and go, I really don't think you ought to be here. Or we're also not going to call you on the phone this week saying, why in the world didn't you come to church? We're going to continue to offer our online services. Until you're comfortable, stay home. It is okay if you say, I don't think I'm ready yet. A majority of you told us through the questionnaire that we sent out last week that you are ready to come back, or you will be ready to come back within the next 2 to 4 weeks. That's great. But if you're not yet, please feel free to stay at home for a little while until you do feel comfortable. Now, continuing on with some other health policies. Per the CDC and the state of Virginia guidelines for churches, we are going to recommend that people who attend our services wear a face covering that covers their nose and mouth the entire time you're on campus. We will have a limited number of masks available to those who do not have one but would like to wear one during the service. However, in our worship service, masks are recommended. They will not be required. We've had a lot of feedback about masks. Actually, in the comment section of the questionnaire, one comment came in that said, I think everybody ought to have to wear a mask. And then like 10 seconds later, another comment came in. And I'm the only one that could see these things, but I watched them as they came in. Like 10 seconds later, somebody said, I'm not going to come if you require me to wear a mask. Masks are really polarizing things right now online and in households. We don't want that to be the case here. We're going to recommend it because we've been asked by our government to recommend it and by health organizations to recommend it. I will say this, I have not worn a mask when I've done my family shopping and when I've been out and about, but I plan to wear one here because we're asking you to do so and because I love you and I don't want to get any of you sick in case I happen to be carrying it until I get up to preach. I can't preach in a mask, folks. But I'm going to wear one as I interact with you at our Connect tent and other places. So we would ask you to do so, but we're not going to mask shame you if you don't wear one. That is going to be your choice. And we're going to ask you to social distance the entire time you're here. You already know what that means, 6 feet apart from anyone that's not in your household. And our pews and chairs, which I'm going to get into in a little while, are going to be clearly marked to ensure that you social distance while you're in the worship center. So those are our health policies.
Well, the mask certainly may help my singing, so.
Absolutely.
What will the schedule and procedures look like during this stage one? We know kind of what our normal church schedule is, but what is it going to look like on this Sunday?
Yes. The reason we're calling this stage one is because this is not a return to normal, all right? This isn't a come to 8:15 small group or 11 o'clock small group, drop your kids off and we worship, come to 9:30 service, let's all be back in youth group and kids ministry and equip on Wednesday nights. That's not what this is. Stage one is worship only, and we're going to do 2 identical services for at least the next 4 weeks. We're committed to do 2 identical services at 9:30 and 11 every Sunday morning. The music's going to be the same. The preaching's going to be the same. And we're going to ask you to attend a service based off of one of 2 factors. If you are a member of a small group, we're going to ask you to come based off of your small group. Now, if you have children, bring them when you would come, obviously. And we sent out to all of our small group members today which hour they're assigned to. We also sent it to all of the small group leaders who are going to contact their small group. And all of these policies are going out in the mail. So we're ensuring that you see this. But certain small groups are going to be asked to come at 9:30. Others are going to be asked to come at 11. If you're not a member of a small group, or if you're a guest, maybe you've been watching our services online and you live in the Hampton Roads area and you say, I want to visit that church when they open. If your last name starts with A through M, come at 9:30. If your last name starts with N through Z, we've just divided the alphabet in half, come at 11 o'clock. Now, when you do get here, you've shown up at the time of worship. The doors for our lobby are going to open about 15 minutes early. If the doors are closed, don't come up to them yet. We're going to prop them open. Nobody's going to be there opening them for you. We're going to prop them open the entire time. Everybody needs to enter our campus through the I'm pointing to it now like you know where I'm pointing, but some of you do know where I'm pointing, through the main entrance, the back parking lot, the big parking lot. I know some of you are used to coming in by the playground. Some of you are used to coming in the preschool hall by the office. Some of you come in through the adult classroom hallway or the fellowship hall. None of that's going to be open. It's all going to be locked. There's going to be signs pointing you to the main entrance. We're doing that for crowd control purposes. So we know where everybody's coming in, and you're going to kind of come in through a little gauntlet of things that we're going to want you to do before you come into the worship center. So come there. You're going to see a connect tent, as long as it's not raining, out at the end of the walkway where people can answer your questions outside. Make sure you know exactly what you need to do before you come in. When you come in the doors that are going to be propped open for you, that's going to be your sign for the 9:30 and the 11 o'clock service that we're ready for you to come in. There's going to be hand sanitizing stations there. So everybody's going to be asked, you just, rub your hands down, which you're already doing 50 times a day. But hey, we're going to provide the hand sanitizer for you. If you'd like a mask, we're going to have boxes of masks that are there that you could take. You're going to see tables with connectors spread out all over them. Sermon notes are going to be in the connectors. We're going to continue to do the kids and the preschool pages for as long as we worship and kids worship stays closed. That's going to be on the tables. Nothing that's normally in the back of the pews are going to be in the back of the pews. But if you need a Bible, hopefully you would bring your own. But if you need a Bible, some of our pew Bibles are going to be stacked up in there. Connect cards, prayer cards, offering envelopes, all of that stuff is going to be stacked on the tables as you come in. You'll pick up just what you need for you and your family. And then you'll make your way into the worship center. And in the worship center, all of our pews are going to be clearly marked. Every other pew is marked, do not sit, and there's even tape that keeps you from walking down the pew. Please don't move my tape, okay? Sit in the pews where we're telling you to sit. And then on the pews where you can sit, it actually tells you how many people can sit in that area. So some are marked 1 to 2, some are marked 2 to 4, some are marked 3 to 5, some are marked 4 or more. That's going to keep one individual person from sitting down in a place where a family of 5 could sit. So you need to come in, look at the pews, maybe make your way a little more forward than you normally would. Find a pew that has a seat for you, if it's just a couple or you and your family or you as an individual, and sit there. You will not be within 6 feet of any other family group. Longer pews, we've actually marked off the 6 feet in the middle with black tape and said, do not sit here. And we'll have families on either end of the pew, but nobody in between. In most cases, you're not only going to be 6 feet away, in a lot of cases, you're going to be 10, 15, even 20 feet away from the next nearest group because we have a very large worship center, and dividing our crowd in half means that we're probably only going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% full. The governor's asked us to stay under 50%. We're shooting to stay under 25% during stage 1. That's how cautious we're being with this initial reopening. So you're going to be far away from everybody during that time. And then when it comes time to leave, we're going to have an exit procedure. We're going to leave from the back to the front. You're going to go out a different door than you came in. So if people are lining up for the next service, you're not going to have to cross by them, although you'll be able to wave to them. Now, once you get into the parking lot, if you want to talk to people and stand around and talk, fine, you can do that. You can't do it in here because we're going to have a crew of people that's cleaning for the next service, sanitizing all the hard surfaces, sanitizing the doors, even though you're not going to touch doors, sanitizing the bathrooms. All of those things we're going to do to make sure that you're going to be able, the next service is going to be in a clean environment. So we're going to ask you not to tarry in here or hang out in the lobby. And I know fellowship's really important to our church, but listen, folks, we're doing the very best we can. And if you're just I got to fellowship with people, do it with other I got to fellowship with people out in the lot, out in the parking lot. Okay, we're going to move you on out there so our next service can come in. All right, I think that covers it.
So the next question that I have here is, can I come to a service other than the one in which I'm assigned? I'm accustomed to coming at 9:30, or if it's kind of like a doubleheader, I want to go to the second game and not the first one. Can I do that?
On our questionnaire, which a lot of you answered, we had over 160 people answer our questionnaire that we sent out a few days ago. Something like 85% of you said, I will come to whatever service you ask me to come to. Well, we're asking you to come to one based off of this criteria. Please do that. For those of you that just say, I've got to come to one because it's what I always do or because I have to go to work. I mean, there are reasons people may have, okay? And if that's the case, we're not going to be checking your ID at the door to make sure that you have the right last name to come to that service. We're not going to have small group rolls out saying, no, this isn't your service time. Nobody's going to do that to you. Nobody's going to shame you for coming to the wrong time. The more of you that come to the time that we asked you to, the better, because it's going to help us have even distribution amongst our services. But we're not going to have school teachers at the door checking roll as people come in, okay? So we're going to be gracious, but the more of you that participate in this, the better.
So I'm sure you've seen in the media, there's a lot of, I don't want to say dilemma, but there's some that are just absolute pro-mask, and there's some that don't want to wear them. There's some that kind of do at certain times. Is there going to be any sort of option for those who want to wear a mask and will only want to be around others who are just wearing masks?
Yeah, let me say two things about masks. First, I talked about masks during the quarantine devotion today. I would encourage you to go watch that on Facebook. If you have not, you can just visit our Facebook page. Watch that about 12-minute devotion. I did it from 1 John 3 when I talked about loving one another in word and deed. And the reason that I'm going to wear a mask on Sunday morning is because I love you, okay? And masks make some of you more comfortable, and so I'm going to put one on when I'm talking to you on Sunday morning. But we made the decision not to require it because we were not asked to require it. We were following the health guidelines, and the health guidelines did not tell us to require it. It told us to recommend it, and that's what we're doing. However, we asked you in the questionnaire, would you be interested in or feel more comfortable in a place where masks were required? And some of you said yes. And so starting this Sunday, we're going to have at both 9:30 and 11 a group live stream. That's the best way to describe it. A group live stream on the big screen, HD projector, with other people, socially distanced, 6 feet or more apart, where everybody's required to wear a mask. Now, a couple of things about that room. If you don't want to wear the mask the whole time, you can't go in there. You still have to come in the lobby. You still have to clean your hands. You pick up your connector. You'll turn left instead of right. You'll go down the hall past the Equip Center, and you'll go into the fellowship hall, and you'll be in there. If your family is going to go in there, your children have to have masks on, and they have to have masks on the whole time. Now, you're going to know whether or not your child is going to be able to keep a mask on. One of mine be an absolute disaster trying to keep a mask on for an hour. So there's no way the Bryces are going to go into that room, right? But for those of you that's what you want, we're wanting to give that option to you. Now, enough of you said you would consider doing that to make us want to offer it. But if there's anything that may change about our stage 1 plan, it's we may pare back how often we offer that masks only room, depending upon who takes advantage of it. So this Sunday, we're going to have it at both services. We may end up making that a one service only option because if it's just one family in there, it's not worth doing. They could have watched it from home. But if we may end up combining it to one, if nobody takes advantage of it, we will shut it down in the coming weeks. So if you want us to have a mask only option and you want to be a part of that, my encouragement to you is come within the first week or two and make your voice heard by being in there, and we will continue to at least offer that. But enough of you said that you would consider doing that, so we wanted to make that available to you. And we will enforce that in that room. We will have an elder in that room enforcing masks in there because we have made that promise to those who would attend that group live stream in the fellowship hall.
Thanks, Pastor Ryan. So there's no we worship or kids worship. So how should families with young children make their decision on whether to attend or not?
So in the comment section of the questionnaire that we sent out, probably second only to masks was comments about kids. We had a lot of comments about small groups too, but we had a lot too about kids. And we have a lot of kids in our church. Praise God. We have babies being born all the time. Our preschool section is busting at the seams. Our nursery section's busting at the seams. This is a great problem to have. We've always celebrated that. And here's what we believe. We believe this so much that we made it one of our core values, is that we value, our core beliefs, is that we believe children are a blessing from the Lord. Listen, children are a blessing. They're not a hindrance. They're not a nuisance. We don't look sideways at big families. We don't look at people who decide to bring their kid into service instead of sending them to the preschool and wonder, why are they doing that? We have always said children are welcome in our worship service, and that does not change because there happens to be a pandemic on. But we recognize that some of you feel like maybe your kid's not going to be able to sit still. My one encouragement to you would be this. If all you're worried about is not coming because your kid is going to distract others, don't worry about that. The people of God have gathered as the church for 2,000 years all around the world, and in the vast majority of cases, children have been in the room. And you know what? Kids didn't just start crying in this generation. Kids have been crying forever.
A long time, yeah.
All right? And if your baby cries and you need to get up and take them out, that's fine. We're actually the only other thing that's going to be open other than the worship center, the lobby bathrooms, and the fellowship hall for the mass only room is our nursing mother's room. So if you bring your baby and you need to step out with them, you can go right in the nursery. The nursing mother room is going to be open. If you bring your preschooler and you're just trying it out and you bring them and you just feel like, oh my goodness, this is just a disaster, then first off, know this, it's fine that they're here. If you feel like you got to take them out, take them outside, let them run in the field. The playground's going to be closed, but you could take them out in the big field out here and they can just burn all that energy off and you can make a different decision next week. More of your kids can do this than you think they can, so you may want to give it a shot. It may be that mom comes one week and dad comes the next week. It may be that couples decide, hey, y'all are going to watch our kids this week and we're going to watch your kids next week. Look, we're the church. Help each other.
Yeah.
Maybe you swap them in between 9:30 attenders and 11 attenders. I don't know. Do what's best for you, but don't not come just because you're afraid that they're going to be a distraction, because children are a blessing from the Lord.
So I think one of the things that's so great about our church is we have such a high percentage that are involved in small groups and where the real fellowship in Acts 2 takes place. And so when can we start to meet again?
Yes. One of the things that's so encouraging to me about our faith family here at Nansemond River is how dedicated you are as a congregation to small groups. On any given week, 88 to 90% of those who attend worship here also attend a small group. That is an incredibly high number. And it's because you love the fellowship, you love the community, you love the teaching, you love the strategic study of God's Word through the Gospel Project, and you love each other. And I love that you love each other. And small groups are our primary means of making disciples. And most of you have continued to meet in your small groups via phone calls or online, things like Zoom or Google Meets. We are not yet able to open our small group rooms. And folks, it may be a little while before we're able to. We're not sure if we're going to be able to open our small group rooms in stage 2 or not. We're very much hoping in stage 2 to be able to open our children's areas, but we're not sure if we're going to be able to open our small group rooms for adults or not. So we know you want that. As soon as we're going to be able to safely offer that, we're going to do it. We're looking at ways that we could modify rooms or move classes and have it at varying hours for you to come. We have provided a couple of options today in an email to your small group leaders. Let me just share one of them that I think some of you may actually do. So talk about this as a small group and decide if you want to do it. We're going to make the outdoor area of our church available to small groups at the other hour than when you've been asked to worship. So if your group's been asked to worship at 9:30, your group could show up at 8:15, or you could stay late at 11 and bring chairs. You can't use church chairs, but bring chairs with you, outdoor chairs that you'd bring to a ball game or a park or a picnic or whatever, and sit out here in the shade, in the sun. I mean, it's spring. It's going to be pretty outside on some of these Sundays, and just have small group outside. That we checked. That is within the regulations for what churches can do. And so if your small group wants to do that, talk about it as a small group. And I would love to see some of our small groups meeting outside. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Have the kids there. Let the kids play. I mean, we're outside. It'll be fine if you have young families in your small group. If not, we encourage you keep meeting together online. And we provided one other option to your small group leader that we'll let them tell you about if it's something that they would like to do. But right now, we're not opening small groups, but we're going to hope to do that soon.
Thank you. One of the questions that came in is, can you tell us what to do with our offering? So people that bring their offering in here, will there be a plate or something for people to be able to place it in?
Yep. So we are not going to be passing an offering plate probably for a while. That's not going to come back even in stage 2, I would imagine. Let me just first, while we're on the subject of offerings, I just want to encourage you. You guys have been amazing during this. We have not quite brought in our budgeted amount, but we have brought in more money during coronavirus, during these last 8 weeks, than we have spent. And so our cash on hand has actually increased a little since early January. And so we really didn't know. We weren't sure what was going to happen. Our online giving went from being about 1/3 of our normal giving to being about 60% of our normal giving. So our online giving is about doubled. And every day, I don't think there's been a single day that we've opened the mailbox that there hasn't been a letter from someone with their tithe or offering check included. You've continued to give to Pray Send Go. You've continued to faithfully support the ministry action plan of our church for this year. And so thank you for your generous giving. I would encourage you to continue to do so. Online giving is still a great option, and it is one that we were doing before this, and it's one that's going to continue to be an important part of our church. But some of you, you're not tech savvy. You just don't want to do it that way. That's fine. You can continue to mail it in to us, which would be okay. We are going to have places at the back of the room that when you exit, there are going to be buckets. We actually use these buckets during Vacation Bible School for the boys and girls to put their pennies in, when we do the missions offering. We're just going to recycle and reuse those buckets. And when you're on your way out, you'll drop it in and somebody will take that and put it in a safe place. And our tellers who have been coming up here on Monday mornings will then count it. And so there will be a place, but there is not going to be an offering plate passed. And another reason we're doing that, not only just not share germs, we're going to be all spread out, but we're taking our service, our normal service before coronavirus was about an hour and 15 minutes. And for online, we've tried to condense that down to about an hour and 5 minutes. And for stage 1, we're trying to condense it even further down to an hour, which means this guy has to preach a little shorter. Okay, because there's nothing else we can cut out.
I'm not supposed to raise my hand in celebration or anything.
Okay, I understand who's at fault here, but not doing the offering and having that additional song at the end saves us about 5 minutes of the service, and so we're going to keep doing that like we've been doing it online for the foreseeable future.
Excuse me if you mentioned this earlier, I might have missed it, but mentioned something about the hymnals and the Bibles. Will those be in the pews? Will those be available for people if they want them? Probably not the hymnals, but at least for the Bibles, will those be available?
So there will be nothing in the back of the pews, but anything that you need, you can pick up. So Bibles will be available. If you use one, we're going to have a place for you to drop it off. We'll sterilize it, get it ready for next week. All right? If you take a pen, we have like 50,000 Nansemond River pens here. If you take a pen, it's your pen. By the way, if you take a Bible and you need a Bible, it's your Bible. We say that about the Pew Bibles anyway. So if you need something like that, you can have it. But I saw the question come up. People were asking, what about, are there going to be stuff for children to play with? All of that's going to be taken out. But we are going to do the kids' pages, okay? So we're limiting the things you can touch so that our cleaning crew comes in and all they're going to be doing is cleaning the wood surfaces, disinfecting the pews so the next people can come in behind it. So that has already been done. All of the pews are completely cleaned out. There's nothing in there that anybody's going to be able to touch.
Okay. That's the only questions that I see in here, besides your haircut, which which you got. Is that why Pastor Michael preached last week?
So somebody asked a question. No.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you what. Pastor Michael preached. He was already scheduled to preach. All of our families have been affected by this in different ways. Mm-hmm. For a year and a half, my family had been planning a trip to the West Coast. We were planning to fly into Los Angeles. We were going to spend a little time in LA. We had never been out there. We were going to do a Mexican Riviera cruise, go to some places on the Mexican coast there on the Pacific that we had never been to. We were very excited about that.
How was that trip?
And we didn't go.
Oh.
I know. Surprising, right?
I know.
That we didn't go get on a cruise ship
Shocking.
in the middle of this.
Shocking.
But last week, because we were going to be gone anyway, and folks, this has been, preaching to a camera is tough. And making these decisions like this, and so I just decided my family needed to get away, and my parents live in the mountains, and they've been quarantined, and we've been quarantined, and so they felt comfortable us coming there. And so I spent all of last week hiking to waterfalls. I went fishing every day. I read some good books, and we put a Harry Potter puzzle together as a family. We have really exciting times as a family when we spend at the Bryce house, and so that's what we did. I got my haircut yesterday after I was back. So thanks for it. Pastor Michael did a great job preaching. We actually watched that on the way back. We're seeing people type questions, but let me answer this. I've been telling you coming up that we are going to be preaching I'm going to be preaching in Genesis once we were back together. We're not starting that this Sunday. This Sunday, I'm actually going to preach from Psalm 66, which is the psalm I was planning to preach on Easter Sunday before coronavirus. And I changed because what that psalm talks about. And here's what that psalm talks about. That psalm talks about the joy of congregation and why the congregation comes together to sing and to celebrate and to struggle and to celebrate the gospel. And it talks about doing that together. And I thought, I can't preach that on Easter when we're not together. And so over the last couple of weeks, when it started to look like we were going to come together, here's what I thought. I thought, man, what better thing to preach on the first Sunday that we at least are offering to be back together than the joy of congregation. And so we're going to be in Psalms this Sunday. We're at least going to be in Psalms the next Sunday as I'm going to preach Psalm 34. I think that's what I'm preaching. And I may add a couple of more Psalms. There's just some things that have been brewing within inside of me that the Psalm speaks to during coronavirus, such as how do we lament? Like, how does a Christian get sad and do so appropriately? Because sometimes people look at Christians and they're like, you shouldn't be sad. That's not what you should do. But the Bible gives us Psalms about sadness. And so we may not start Genesis until stage 2, when we would open the children's area and maybe some more people would be comfortable coming back. If stage 2 gets prolonged far into July, we may go ahead and start Genesis. But I would like to start Genesis when the majority of people feel comfortable being back here. So we're going to see what the next couple weeks holds. So Genesis will likely start sometime in June, and that's going to be a year series. Question 4, I think, is a real question. We can skip Linda O'Neill's question.
No LSU, but although they are national champions, so maybe you can.
Yes, and if we don't have college football this fall, we're going to be national champions again.
Right.
Because that's the way it works.
That's like the Washington Nationals. They're still champions for baseball.
It's finders, keepers as far as college football goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry, I see this from Jerry Rogers. A lot of people are asking questions as far as like what they tend to do here at the church. And Jerry Rogers asked us one of those questions. He's another one of our deacons. He's in charge of our lockup ministry. Jerry, we're only going to have one door here unlocked. And so your team is not going to need to worry about locking up that one door. We'll be able to handle that.
Got it.
That'll be good. We are going to have our security team is going to be modified and in place, and they're going to be making sure so they could help us with that. I think that would be fine.
So one of the questions is also about the shirts and jackets that were ordered for NRBC.
Yeah, so that feels like 5 years ago.
It does.
Will
they still be in style when they come in?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's not going to be winter.
Okay.
So if you bought one of those jackets, which were expensive, if you bought one of those jackets, well, it's cold outside today. Like today, you have on a fleece.
Today, I do have a fleece.
What are you going to
do
today? So we actually got word from them today that all of that stuff has been printed and is being shipped. It's going to be shipped to the church unless you specifically said ship it to my house. I'm not sure what they're going to do about that. But most of it, I think, is shipping to the church, maybe all of it. We'll divide it. We're going to send emails and communicate phone calls, whatever we got to do to people that bought stuff. We'll have it available for you. Probably what we're going to ask you to do is just come to the church and pick that up, because trying to do that on a Sunday morning during stage one is going to be difficult. While we're on the subject of stuff that you buy at church, the Equip Center that has the Nansemond River t-shirts, which we had brand new t-shirts done because we were doing a big Easter outreach in partnership with the city at Bennett's Creek Park, and like 150 of you bought t-shirts the first Sunday, and then we closed down the next Sunday, and then we didn't have the outreach. We have a bunch more of those t-shirts that we ordered because we about sold all the way out of them. And they're in the Equip Center along with Equip books, which we had to cancel Equip 2 weeks into Equip and all of that. All of the Equip Center is going to be closed, okay? So don't go buy a shirt yet. Don't go over there and buy a book. Maybe during stage 2, we're going to free up our lobby a little bit and give you the opportunity to open there, but not yet. So don't go buy a shirt. Don't go that way. Only go that way if you're going to the masks-only room on Sunday. If you have other questions, Facebook, YouTube, nrbc.church.online or .online.church. We're only going to give you about 5 more minutes to ask your questions. So if you've got something, hopefully we're not getting a lot of questions because the information that we provided for you made a lot of sense. But we wanted to provide this opportunity in case it didn't. So as you think about some questions, maybe, let me cover just a couple of things. I want to reiterate something. We really want you to be free, to feel the freedom, to make the decision that is right for you and your family. And if that is you're busting at the seams to be back in church and you're going to be here with bells on Sunday, great. If that's not quite you yet, because of health concerns within your family, or just because you want to see how this all plays out over the coming weeks before you venture back out, fine. Here's what I can tell you, and I believe this to be true. The grocery stores, Walmart, Lowe's, some of these places that have looked like Black Friday, every day. Right. I've been at Lowe's more than I've been in the last 10 years. I'm one of those people, folks. I apologize. I can't sit still. I had to have something to do. I built a really nice garden at my house, though. Those places have done just a Herculean effort in trying, while staying open, to implement policies. And I've been to those places, and I've watched people ignore those policies nearly every time that I've been there, right? People haven't been social distancing, but the places are trying. Here's why I think we're going to do a better job. Not because we're going to try harder than them, but number one, we've been able to implement our policies while you're not here, which is important. But number two, but because you are committed to unity of the church and doing what we're asking you to do. You're not going to be the people that are walking the wrong way. You're not going to be the people that are moving the tape. You're not going to be the people that aren't caring about what we've asked you to care about. There are people like that out there, and those people are shopping at our grocery stores, and you're seeing them as you go to them. But the church isn't going to be that way. And so I think this is actually the safest public place you're going to be able to go. I truly believe that. Because everybody that shows up here loves everybody else that's going to show up here, and is going to look to care for those people. So you're going to do the things that we ask you to do, and this is going to be a safe place. But with that said, we really want you to feel the freedom to make that decision for you and your family. So if you don't show up Sunday, it's fine. If you wait a couple of weeks, that's fine. If you, because of health concerns, and we have people in our church that have significant health concerns, need to wait for a long time, that's fine. If that is you, make sure at least your small group leader knows, so we're caring for you as a church, because we want to care for everyone, even in the midst of this, and sometimes out of sight is out of mind, and we don't want to be that way. So we're going to need you to communicate with us, but we hope to see most of you, if not this Sunday, in the Sundays to come. Now, there is one group of people that I do want to address, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit in the sermon on Sunday when I talk about the joy of congregation. Some of you have kind of liked doing church in your bathrobe on Sunday morning. And over the last 8 weeks, you've thought, this isn't bad. I can wake up, I can get my cup of coffee, I can sit in my pajama pants, and I can watch church on YouTube, and there's no difference. Well, folks, there is a difference. There is something about the people of God gathering together. Most of us have greatly missed it. I know you have because you've reached out and you've told me. But some of you maybe have grown a little too accustomed to online church. And some of you are saying this, until we're fully back to normal, not for health reasons, but just because you like normal, and you don't like the idea of being told what pew to sit into, and you don't like the idea of cleaning your hands when you come in, and you don't like the idea of ushers not passing the offering plates, and this just isn't normal, and normal for us is 9:30 service and not 2 services, and you want normal, and so when we get to normal, you'll come back to normal. Listen, there's an expression, don't sacrifice the good on the altar of the perfect. Well, let me alter that. Don't sacrifice the good on the altar of normal, all right? It may be a while before we're back to normal. It very well may be this fall or later. I don't know. We're going to take this as it goes in stages, but it could be a while before we all look around and say, oh, wow, look, church seems normal to us. If you're not coming because you're just waiting for normal, why don't you come on? If you're not coming because you just kind of grew accustomed to online service, why don't you just come on and join us? But if you're really concerned about being out where other people are, or if you have health concerns or pre-existing conditions, feel free to stay home. I've got to pastor people on both extremes, okay? And I want both extremes to hear the pastor tonight, all right? We are receiving more questions, they're saying, from the back. All right, so they're going to type those for us.
What are the projections for Youth Kids Camp? Have we heard anything about Center Kid or MFUge?
Great question. Yes, all camps are canceled.
Okay.
We just found that out last week.
For the entire summer?
Yes, for the entire summer.
Okay.
They originally canceled camps for June. Lifeway made the difficult decision at the end of last week to cancel everything. Most of that was kind of decided for them. Most of our camps actually take place, like our students go to MFUge in Philly, which is on Eastern University. And the day before Lifeway canceled all camps, Eastern canceled all their summer programs. Yeah. So Lifeway really got to a place where they didn't have any places to host most of their camps, and so it became easier for them. So if you have paid us money, we're going to give you some options. When Pastor Michael, he's actually away with his family this week, but when he gets back next week, he's going to give you some options of either applying that money to a different event for children or students, or getting a refund. So we're going to communicate all that with you. Here's what I will say. We do hope to be able to still have VBS. We may move it into August. We may have to move it outside. We may have to move it to the nighttime. I don't know. But we're hoping to still have VBS. And we hope to have some kind of replacement for kids camp and youth camp. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if that's going to be an overnight thing, or if that's going to be you bring them up here.
You hosted middle school last year, so you could do middle school and high school at your house.
I don't know that I'm really ready to do that.
Okay.
But we're hoping to have something, because summertime is an important disciple-making moment in the lives of students. And so we're hoping to be able to offer something. We'll let you know what those things are.
Is there going to be any restrictions on people bringing in coffee or bottled water? Because I would assume I point, like you did, like everyone knows where I'm pointing to, but the coffee won't be available.
Yes.
And what about the water fountains? Will those be open?
I know the coffee will be closed. If you want to bring, if you bring it in with you, need to leave with you, all right? A lot of you you drive through Starbucks when you come here, and I got some of you in my mind right now. I'm not going to call names, but some of you do not show up here without, a venti, frappe, decaf, mocha latte, junior, whatever. I don't care. If you bring it out, because our cleaning crew's got a lot to do in a short amount of time. Our coffee maker is going to be closed just because we're trying to make this as touch-free of an environment as possible. We'll probably leave the water fountains open just because if you get choked up and you need a sip of water, you can have it, but that's at your own risk kind of thing. Same way with the toilets. If you've got to use the bathroom while you're here, nobody's going to flush that thing for you, okay? You can use it, but maybe you can hold it till you get home. That's going to be up to you. But if you bring it in here, take it out with you. If you're bringing kids and they're the kind of kids that smash Cheerios everywhere, maybe hold off on the Cheerios until they get home. Or just give them one at a time or do something because we're going to have to clean.
So for as far as the small group books, how are those going to be distributed?
Yeah, small group books are here. The new small group curriculum for Gospel Project, the next quarter starts in June. So we've got 2 Sundays. And so this Sunday, if you come over the next 2 Sundays, as you exit, they're going to be available. There's going to be tables with them stacked on. You can just pick one up. Easy peasy. You can always come to the church office. Right now, the church office is open Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And you could come to the church office and we could provide one for you. We've also instructed small group leaders that if they have small group members who cannot get out, that we were asking small group leaders and small groups to make arrangements. So maybe you pick one up for your friend and drop it at their house, or their small group teacher does. If you know somebody that is going to attend Sunday and you're not going to be here in the next 2 weeks, maybe just ask somebody to get it for you. But we're going to have plenty of those. And then for elementary and students and preschool, all of that Gospel Project material, we're not going to distribute yet until it's needed on campus. And so once that's needed on campus, we'll give it to you. But small group books will be available this Sunday.
So I know some churches have done some outside services where people stay in their car, and I don't know if the pastor preaches on the roof or whatnot. We want to keep you off the roof. But any thoughts of having church outside, weather permitting?
Yes. We talked about it. We talked about the drive-up church. We talked about doing, church at the park at the church all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because we do church at the park. Here's my biggest reservation, all right? And this is really what led us to say we need to do inside. Number one, the biggest plus we have about this room really is just how big it is compared to the size of the number of people that show up. Again, we're going to be less than 25% full in both services on Sunday. That's as spread out as you would be outside, okay? But here's my biggest reservation, okay? That's the biggest plus for moving inside. All of our live streaming stuff is hardwired in this room. Our cameras are in this room. All of the stuff that sends this out right now on the internet is in this room. And we want to continue to offer the same quality of service for people who can't come yet. We want to offer the same quality of service at 9:30 and 11 for them to be able to stream that they've been streaming for the last 8 weeks, and for us to be able to record and send by DVD to shut-ins homes, which we've been doing for the last, we were doing that before coronavirus started. And if we move outside, we could still probably live stream, but the quality is going to go from what you've expected way down. And so here's what we would be doing. We would be sacrificing a good experience for those who can't even come to an outside service. And I don't want to do that. So I think the best thing for us to do is be inside for people that can be inside, and those who can't, you watch online, and it's the best of both worlds, because if not, gathering outside. And then what happens if the rain comes, right? Then we're having to make decisions on the fly. It's just going to be easier for us to be in here and to live stream and have that a good quality for people.
So I certainly appreciate all the prayerful thought and discussions that the elders have had, for this stage one. Have they or have you thought about what stage 2, what stage 3 and 4 is going to look like, or is that going to be very dependent upon what our government, what kind of decisions with state and local governments do?
Yeah, a lot of that is really going to be dependent. Let me tell you one thing that I've been grateful for this entire time is the guidance from our state convention. So we're a member of the Southern Baptist Convention of Virginia, which is about 700 like-minded churches, and we have a great group of people. And they have done some incredible things, getting pastors together online, providing training from people like the president of the International Mission Board and the North American Mission Board. And they, here in Virginia, have worked very closely with our governor's office. I credited earlier in this discussion the letter that some pastors wrote. Equal credit goes to the Southern Baptist Convention of Virginia. They're right there in Richmond, and they've been in constant contact. When the governor would issue an order, the SBCV right on the heels of that would say, okay, folks, this is what it means. Because who can read that stuff and knows what it means?
Right.
But they can, and they've been in contact with them. And so they've put out a plan that we're using. We've modified it. We think the next stage would be that we're able to open our children's area. Because of the nature of coronavirus, we think children's areas are going to be the next thing they're going to open. And then hopefully maybe a modified version of small groups, maybe not. And then we would roll out small groups in phase 3. By the time we get to phase 3, most everything kind of looks back to like it is. We may not come back on Wednesday nights until school is back in. It may just be difficult to start that kind of thing during the summer. So we're not really sure on some. What I don't want to do is make you promises, which is why we're saying this is going to last at least 4 weeks. It may last more. But if I promise you that it's only going to last 4 weeks and that the We Worship is going to open on June, then you're going to expect that's going to be open. And I don't want to do that, okay? So it's at least 4 weeks. It may be 6. It may be 8. It's going to be at least 4. I do think the next thing that happens is our preschool area and then some kind of modified small group. We will likely stay in 2 services in stage 2 as well. That's our current plan. Just because it doesn't hurt us to be in 2 services and it doesn't hurt us to spread out. And I think because of the size of our room and as spread out as we can be in here, it's going to make more people feel comfortable that you can come and find a seat that's going to be 10, 15 feet away from the next closest person. So we'll give you plenty of warning. Stage 2 is not going to start and we're going to say, oh, it starts tomorrow. Just like we've done with this, we're going to give you plenty of warning as those things happen.
So I would imagine I probably know the answer to this, but what are you looking forward to the most?
Oh, preaching with people in the room. Praise God, somebody's going to be here to react to the sermon. Like, I am very good at knowing how Barry and Patrick and Brian and a few people from our worship team react to sermons now because they've been hearing me preach for 8 weeks at them and staring at this camera. I think I've gotten pretty good at staring at this camera, but I don't like doing it. Yeah. I'm called to preach to people and you being here. And that's not all. I have genuinely just missed you. I've missed knowing what's going on. I've missed seeing you and you just being here and me getting to say hey to you even from 6 feet away and know that you're good and know that your family's good and see how much your kid, I swear, one of my kids has grown 6 inches since coronavirus started. And some of your kids probably have too, you know, like who knows? I just want to see it. And so it's going to do my heart good to see you guys here.
You mentioned all the kids that we have, and we certainly do have a lot. Is there going to be a rescheduling for the baby dedication?
Yes. We host baby dedication every summer. And this year, we were hosting it tied to a very specific passage that I was planning to preach in June in Genesis, where God tells Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply. And that's something our church is pretty good at doing.
Very.
And we're going to have baby dedication on Be Fruitful and Multiply Sunday. And I still want to do that. So whenever we know when we're going to start Genesis, a certain number of sermons out is going to be that sermon. And we will get in touch with all of those families and we will do that. We may end up scheduling an additional baby dedication. Here's what we know. Baby dedication doesn't save anybody, right? We affirm that is not a saving act. It's not baptism. It's nothing like that, okay? It is parents dedicating to raise their child in the nurture and mission of the Lord. But there are some people who had first-time children this year who are longing to be a part of baby dedication. There are some families in our church that have struggled to have children that the Lord answered that prayer, and they're looking for that celebration moment. We want to provide it for them, and we may end up providing more than one, because there may be some that say, I'm just not ready to come back at that point, and if that's the case, then we'll do one later in the fall maybe. Nothing says we can't do 2 baby dedications or even more than that in the year, and with as many babies that are born around here, maybe we need to start doing more than one, so that's maybe what we're doing.
If small groups have an opportunity to meet outside or decide that, should they bring their own chairs?
Yes, you got to bring your own chair because you can't go. The only place you can get a chair is in the fellowship hall, and fellowship hall is going to be masks only, and we don't need people doing this through the fellowship hall. So if you've got a lawn chair, a blanket, the back of your pickup truck, I mean, like whatever you got to do, you can do it. But I'd love to see people doing that, but you need to bring your own thing to sit on.
Well, I believe that's all the questions that have been submitted.
Yeah. Because we're coming up on close to an hour. So thanks for sitting up here with me.
We are. Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
So let me make one, I'm going to pray for us, but I want to make one sort of announcement. I want to tell you something that we're excited that we're doing, and we need a little bit of help. We don't need 50 people help, but we need a little bit of help, and it's short notice, so I told our facility folks that I would make this announcement tonight. We've made the decision, something you voted on in February, that we kind of put on hold when coronavirus struck, but that because money has stayed good, we feel like we have the money to do and will be easier to do before we reopen, and that is do the carpet and painting renovation of our preschool hall.
A lot easier without kids.
Yeah, because listen, we started making the plans for closing the preschool hall when everything was going, and that was going to be ugly. And so we actually signed contracts today to begin that process. We have to remediate that hall just like we did the other places that we did last year, and that's a messy process. And then we're going to have a painter come in and repaint everything. It's going to look really nice. And we have a new carpet, not the same carpet we've put everywhere else. We've got a new carpet that's going to go in there that's just going to be for our preschool hall. So by the time we start stage 2 and we worship starts, it's going to be all clean and fresh and new. But the remediation starts next week. And that preschool hall is full of stuff. And our facilities team is working really hard at getting some of that stuff, but they're going to need some help. So Bill Haynacki, who's our new facilities director, by the way, that happened about 8 weeks ago, about the week that we shut down, we hired a new facilities director. But Bill has asked that if some men would show up here this Thursday, 2 days from now, at around 6 o'clock, 6:30, whenever you can get here, grab a quick bite on the way from work, show up. We can't have 50 people in it. You need to be willing to be around people without masks, okay? But if that's you and you're willing to help maybe for about an hour to an hour and a half, we've got some things to take off the walls. We've got some heavy furniture to carry, some rooms to empty so that the remediation folks, they're going to get cracking right after next Monday, which is Memorial Day. They're going to show up here on Tuesday and start making a big mess down the preschool hall. So if you can help, or if you're a wife whose husband can help and you're going to volunteer him to be here in 2 nights, 6 o'clock this Thursday. All right, let me just stress one more time. We really want you to be comfortable making your decision. So do that. If you need to ask me personal questions, reach out and ask them. Oh, I see just men. No, not just men. If you want, ladies, if you want to show them help. There's 2 or 3 women that love showing up to the work days, and I just insulted you. I'm very sorry that I insulted you. Actually, all of that work so far today has been done by 2 women, all right? Carolyn and Mandy have been doing all of that work today. I did not mean to insult you. Ladies, you can show up, certainly. So back to what I was saying. We really want you to feel comfortable showing up. This includes volunteers. If the usher leader or the Connect team leader or the security team leader calls you this week and say, hey, we really need you to show up, and you're not comfortable, tell them no, okay? It's okay. If you're in the worship team and Brian puts you on the rotation, tell them no. We want you to feel the freedom to say no, but when you're ready to come back, we want you to come back, right? Don't tarry in coming back longer than you need to. So just hear that from both ends pastorally. That is the desire of our area, the desire of our pastor. I'm seeing 2 more things pop up here. I answer them really quick.
If people stay after the 9:30 service and want to help clean, can they do that?
Yes, if you want to volunteer, we could use a few more people volunteering to clean. So if you'll say on Facebook or one of those things right now, I'd like to clean, Brian will take your name down. He'll give it to Mandy, who is our custodial care director, and she will contact you. As for the kids ministry position, we are not hiring that right now. We will hire that when things are back to normal. We interviewed, I think, 6 people from our church for that job. All 6 would do a great job at it. But folks, there's just too much up in the air right now for us to add another staff position. And so we're going to wait until things are normal. And when things are normal, we will contact everybody and find out what is going on. Y'all keep asking questions. Y'all were done, and then now you keep asking. Yes, the children's handouts will continue to be printed until we start We Worship and Kids Worship. When that starts, Pastor Ryan's going to stop doing an extra thing on Thursdays, okay? But between now and then, I'm committed to keep doing it, so we're going to keep doing that.
You just referred to yourself in first person, by the way.
I did, I know.
Seinfeld.
Okay. Is that it? We good?
Yeah.
Can I get the thumbs up from the back? We're good. Thank y'all for watching. Let me pray for us, all right? God, I am so grateful for our church. I'm grateful for the love and encouragement that they show to me and my family and our other elders and pastors and our families, and just how much desire everyone has had to be back together. I thank you for the dozens that have watched this just in preparation to make this decision, because some are struggling with it. Some are asking hard questions right now. Should I come back? Would you give them both the freedom to say, maybe I need to wait a little while, but also the nudge that if it's time, when it is time, if it's this week or if it's 2 weeks or a month or 2 months from now, whenever that is, that they would come back and rejoin the gathered people of God. I am so excited to gather. Whether I'm gathering in 2 services with 50 or 60 people this week or over 100, it doesn't matter. I'm just glad to be gathered with my family here for worship and the proclamation of God's word. We look forward to the guests that are going to come, because they're looking for a church during this difficult time. And maybe they've even moved to this area during this time. So help us to be that church for them. Let us be gracious with one another. Let us be united together in the gospel. And let us show love, not in words, but in deeds to each other as we continue to figure out how to be the church during a prolonged pandemic, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you so much for showing up. We look forward to seeing you this Sunday if you plan to be here.